Sir, how do you do?
All well, sir.
So good to see you.
Same here.
मैं बाल वाल थोड़े सही कर लूं. क्या चल रहा है sir? We haven't spoken in a while now. How's life?
Same old way. It's the same routine, office, physiotherapy, but things are moving really fast now. So, मैं travel भी कर लिया 2 बार दिल्ली. So, but
अरे
वही
बताया नहीं.
time कम था तो I could not catch up with you because मैं wheelchair पे था. But hopefully
ओ भाई साहब.
next time round when I come, I
We
should
should
walk.
we should totally have a meetup when you're here, sir. मतलब with you as a chief guest. मतलब goes without saying.
I'm targeting कि जब मैं सितंबर अक्टूबर में आऊंगा तो I'll be walking like normally at least if not 100% but stick पे तो होऊंगा ही so should be fine by then.
Nice, nice, nice. Good to see you recover, man.
हाँ नहीं
Very
नहीं by things are moving really fast now by end of this year 100% confident that I'll be back.
nice.
Good evening,
Party for
everyone.
me. Hi, Prateek. So we just
Good
catching
evening.
up with Anurag. I haven't spoken to him in a while now. His calendar is super busy. He's not available easily. So we'll start at 8:05. We'll just allow folks to come in and just warm up, get your coffees. If you're gonna need that, it's gonna be a heavy session. We will have some good time. Anurag sir, I'll just come in a bit. Yeah.
हाँ जी सर बिल्कुल.
Hey, hi everyone.
Hi Nikhil.
Hey Nikhil, I'm trying to make you a co-host for the session, but for some reason Google Meet sucks like how. Zoom
Okay,
has better controls. I'm not able to do anything here, but let's see if I'm able to, if do
okay, okay.
things. But even if it's not possible, I'll probably, I'll be. Okay, I'll just make the
Okay.
thing open so that anybody who's joining in, they just join automatically. We'll see.
Okay, sure.
Okay, we'll wait for 3 more minutes and then we get started. It's 8:02 right now. And Raksa, can you just check if you share your screen and all, you have
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
controls.
I'm checking. I think I'm able to. I'll just. Uh,
निखिल आप पीएमएक्स पे और दिल्ली वाले ग्रुप पे एक बार मैसेज डाल दोगे दैट वी स्टार्टिंग.
ठीक है, डाल देता हूँ. I'm
Hmm.
putting the
I
message.
think I'm able to share my screen.
Sure.
Awesome.
डन, डाल दिया. ठीक है.
Okay, let's get started. Let's honor everybody's time. For folks who will join eventually, they will join eventually. So get started with that. Anurag sir, thank you so much. First off, for taking out time and doing this on a Saturday evening. I know you have an extremely busy schedule. For the folks who are joining in, I would absolutely love if you have your cameras on. It's always nice to see faces and make it as interactive as possible. A bit about Anurag. Me and Anurag kind of go back to 2015, 16 is when I met him for the first time. So Anurag had built the first version of Make My Trips app. So he's the guy who built it and launched it. He's he comes with a lot of very sizable experience of Make My Trip, Disney Hotstar, in movie Goldman Sachs, been with analytics, software development, growth, building products, the 0 to 1 for mobile, and then launching mobile and kind of scaling mobile in that journey. He's built products for 20 million plus kind of a DAO. He has built it for North America, China, Southeast Asia, you name the geography, and he's kind of dabbled in really ghat ghat ka pani pee kar fir ulti karke fir all that. He's really done it all. He's my go-to guy when it comes to product, and if I have something really nasty which is troubling me, then he's my go-to guy to kind of. Otherwise, I don't disturb him much. But thank you so much, Anurag, for really doing this. I think this is a very important topic, particularly for startup folks, for junior folks as well, who are looking forward to build their ad tech muscle and really understanding growth at a very core level, so to say, and not at a gamification level, which is what I do, which is more to do with product marketing, but really going deep into the levers. With that, the stage is all yours. I'll be around listening in. If you need any help, Nikhil is also around. So if there's anything, and in case if I'm not available, just in case if my kids pull me out, then just they'll handle.
No worries, sir.
Over to you. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you so much, sir. And बहुत ज़्यादा fancy bio हो गया. I guess it's way too fancy. But thank you so much for all those nice words. Yeah. So maybe without much of a sort of much ado about nothing, I'll just dive deep into the talk that I have today. I'll just quickly share my screen. and hopefully it should be up now.
Yes, we can see.
Perfect. Yeah, so just a quick background, like Sumit pointed out, and we go back a long way. Thank you so much for inviting me again. So yeah, my career is like kind of a story of two parts. I have spent a fair bit of time working on mobile products, and I have done a fair bit of time working on ad tech also. So when I got bored of mobile products, I thought, why not just go into a completely different space, and ad tech kind of caught my fancy back then. And so worked at InMovie and Hotstar. So today's talk is kind of a summary, kind of has two case studies. One is focused on the ad tech part of it and dives deep into how Disney Plus Hotstar basically cracked ad tech. And then in the second part, we go over classic e-commerce, make meta case study. How do you deliver profitability as an OTA? What kind of economics do you see, etc. Right? So we'll just quickly cover that. Right. So the first case study is ad tech. So we'll go through it. I'll skip over this slide. Already Smith has covered. Yeah. So when it comes to ad tech, let's first try and understand the key actors in an ad tech setting, right? What is really happening out here, right? What are the key actors, right? First key actor is obviously the advertiser, right? Who is looking for a space, a shelf space where he can run his ads, right? And if I had to kind of extend that argument further, he's probably looking for very specific audience to which he wants to show his ads, right? He's probably looking to achieve certain goals, and we'll talk about what those goals are in some of the future slides, right? So one side is the advertiser, and corresponding to it, this is a slightly simplistic picture because the current ad tech world can be very, very complex. So I'm starting simple and then we'll kind of build on it, right? On the other side, so advertising examples would be PNG, Flipkart, Audi, right? Consumer brand.
Anurag, 1 second. Anurag, 1 sec.
Yeah.
Uh, we can't see a change of screen in case if that's because we can still see crack the code of monetization.
Oh,
So
but
for
it is
some reason,
strange.
you want to try resharing that?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's changing.
Acha. All right.
Yeah. And Sumit, hi, just reminding you to record the session. I saw in the mail.
Yeah, there is a bot which is already there. It's recording the session. Yes.
Is it on the correct slide now?
We can see slide 4 right now.
Yeah.
आप एक बार इसको change करके देखना अगर ऊपर नीचे होके if it moves.
Yeah. Are the transitions getting picked up?
No,
No,
it's the
So
same slide.
and now it's saying PNG, Flipkart, Audi. No, you cannot see that.
no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. Because I can see it changing on my screen. Why should that happen?
Maybe you can try sharing that.
Yeah, I've tried that already. Let me share my entire window. Maybe, um, yeah, maybe share my entire screen. That might be better instead of sharing a specific window. This should work, I guess. Now,
Yes, advertiser, PNG, Flipkart, Audi.
yeah, the arrow is
Yeah,
coming up.
now the error came.
All right, yeah. Initially, I'd said shared a specific window. अब मैंने full screen कर दिया, ठीक है. All right. So advertiser, we already spoke about it. PNG, Flipkart, Audi, right? And then on the other side of this equation is a publisher, right? And publisher is a key critical part of this equation, right? Because publishers offer shelf space to the advertiser to basically run their ads, and publishers are also looking at ad tech by running these ads. They're looking at it as a big large pillar for making money, right? So if I have to look at some of the classical publishers, and Sumit has already worked at one, right? So Times of India, right? The Times Internet Group is a very large publisher in the Indian internet ecosystem, NDTV, right? So some of the classic sort of content sites, news sites are obviously there. And then obviously we have the big daddies, right? We have the Facebooks and Googles of the world, right? So here specifically I've called out Google Display Network because Google Display Network is like which runs these banner ads and video ads, etc. Right? The search engine behaves slightly differently, so I've not put it here. Right? So advertiser and publisher, two sort of big main actors in the ad tech ecosystem. There are a lot of intermediaries. The case study kind of builds along, so I'll sort of talk about that later. Now that we have understood the actors, let's try and understand the types of digital advertising that is out there, right? And this is important to understand, right? So I would like to actually throw it back to some of you guys and ask, what are the typical types of digital advertising that you guys are aware of, right? And think of it in terms of, I'm not talking banner ads and video ads, right? Think of it in terms of advertiser goals, right? What are the goals of the advertiser and how are the different advertising demands kind of segmented as per that? Can anyone take an attempt at it maybe? Just trying to keep it a little interactive. If otherwise, I can go back to the monologue mode if you want me to.
No, absolutely. I think
So affiliate websites, do you consider those also as sort of digital advertisement?
Affiliate websites, yes, absolutely. The only difference is that uh, you are basically paying them on cost per lead basis and not really on cost per impression basis. But yeah, affiliate advertising is completely a sub bucket of digital advertising.
Some of these goals can be traffic, sales, leads, uh, awareness.
Absolutely, bang on, absolutely. So the first large bucket of digital advertising is brand advertising, right? Here what you're trying to do is basically you are basically trying to get top of mind recall in the minds of the consumer, right? You're not really looking to get an outcome out of it straight up, right? So this is very similar to TV advertising. You're basically showing those ads on TV, trying to basically build recall, right? Uh, Both aided and unaided recall, right? So brand is a large bucket. So similar to how we do it on radio, we do it on print, we do it on TV. Similarly, digital advertising space, uh, there's a specific large bucket of digital advertising demand, which is the brand advertising demand, where you're not really looking to drive a transaction, a sale, a lead then and there, but largely you're trying to build recall, right? So build awareness and recall is basically the brand bucket, right? And the typical vehicle for brand advertising is video ads, right? Because why video ads? Because like very similar to TV, there's a certain length of the ad, right? You can play your ads for like 10 to 15 seconds, maybe as long as 30 seconds, right? That helps you craft and narrate that brand story, right? And put yourself in the minds of the consumer, right? So brand advertising is a very large bucket, and typically when you think brand, typically you should think video ads. Not necessarily, it could be probably carousel ads also, right? But largely when you try to do brand advertising in digital space, you kind of lean on video. The second bucket, as was already called out, is where you're trying to elicit a response from the consumer then and there, right? You showed him or her an ad, and you basically want to get something out of the user straight up, right? You want the user to click on the ad, maybe install the app, right? So install ads is a very large sub bucket of performance, right? You basically want the user to click on the ad, go to your website, buy something, right? You're trying to drive a transaction, right? So that's called performance bucketing because there's a performance metric associated to it. In fact, in a lot of cases, advertisers would not pay you if you don't meet that goal for the advertiser, right? So performance is again a very, very large bucket. And exactly what I meant, the advertiser is trying to drive some action immediately from the user, and it could be on, let's say, cost per download basis. The pricing could be on cost per download basis, cost per transaction basis, cost per lead basis, so CPD, CPX, etc., right? So these are two very large buckets, right? And typically most of the advertising demand you can kind of segment into neatly into these two large buckets. There's a third sub bucket. It's a specialized bucket, and it's a kind of a sub bucket of performance advertising, which is retargeting. So retargeting again is performance. You are eventually trying to kind of do a CPD or CPX, someone who has visited your website. You're trying to kind of chase that user on the internet, right? Trying to reach to that ad and basically try to get some response from the user. But the reason why I specifically called it out is because there are a bunch of ad tech companies out there who specialize in retargeting. They specifically do this. So, for example, in the Indian context, Chairu was one such company. There is Vizuri, right? And there are a bunch of uh, international companies also that kind of specialize on retargeting. Retargeting is big business. You must have noticed yourself that if you have visited one of the websites and you go to, let's say, you go back to Money Control or NDTV, those retargeting ads are always chasing you. In fact, they are very specialized. They exactly try to capture you at the point where you dropped off, right? So if you, let's say, looked at a particular product and you dropped off, those retargeting ads will chase you all across, right? So it's big business, right? So that's the third bucket, right? So yeah, let's move on. So now that we have understood the main actors, we have understood what the advertiser goals are, right? And from the advertiser goals, we have kind of subsegmented the different sort of demand buckets, right? Let's now try and understand the holy grail of advertising, right? What are the how do you really become a successful ads player, right? So the first key thing is what are advertisers looking for? If I had to kind of map it back to advertiser goals, what are advertisers looking for? The advertisers are looking for audiences, very specific audiences in a lot of cases, right? So it can start from a slightly more sort of high level targeting, saying that I want to target, I'm a beauty brand or I'm a fashion brand. I want to target, let's say, women between, let's say, 22 to 35 years of age, right? And I'm just looking for gender targeting. I'm looking for women, right? It could start there. It could get as granular as saying that, hey, I'm a D2C brand in Bangalore. I'm a very small sort of startup, and I want to be very, very efficient with my ad spending. And let's say I'm a shoes brand, so I want to really target users who have an interest in shoes, right? And maybe I have very specific outlets. I have few offline outlets only in Bangalore, in the Nagar Mangla HSR. So we want to target people in very specific pin codes, right? So it can go as granular as that, right? So success in advertising, especially in digital advertising space, as a publisher, you need to offer very, very granular audiences to your advertisers, right? And this is exactly the reason why the likes of Google and Facebooks of the world are like really, really strong, right? Because they have all the audience data, right? So, like I said, right, a brand could be looking to target a new mother, right, or an electronics enthusiast, right, or a sneakerhead, right? So it can go like really granular, right? Those are the requirements if you want to be a serious player in advertising. You need to be able to cater to a very wide spectrum of audience targeting, right? Any guesses on what's next? What could be the next big thing? If you think of it from an advertiser's perspective, what else is advertiser looking for?
Positioning statement.
Not really. So the next thing that the advertiser is looking for is formats, right? Because until unless the format is really, really salient with the advertiser's needs, right? So, for example, let's say I'm an auto brand, right? I'm an automobile brand. I'm Audi, right? What I want to do is basically showcase the latest car that I've launched in the market, but also at the same time grab leads from the users, right? Where user can book a test drive for my latest car then and there, right? So you're kind of trying to do a combination of brand advertising, right? You're trying to kind of showcase your latest car and kind of narrate your brand story. At the same time, there is a CPL component to it, cost per lead component to it. We're trying to open up a companion form then and there where the user can basically put in his phone number and basically book a test drive then and there, right? So advertisers are always looking for more and more sort of custom formats that basically meet their needs like really, really granularly, right? So formats is again a very, very key story, and format innovation keeps on happening, right? It's not the traditional that you only have banner ads, right? And you have a standard sort of video ad and you're done with it. No, there's a lot of innovation happening in formats also, and all the time new standards are coming up, right? So these days there are playable ads. Let's say you are a gaming company, right, and you want to run app install ads, right? You are a digital game, right? So let's say you are Clash of Clans, right? So what you are trying to do is basically have an ad format that showcases the gameplay as an interactive gameplay. You can actually play a few steps of the game within the ad itself, and then after that the install button comes in, right? So the user has always already invested few minutes or seconds of his time, right? He has already gotten exposed to the gameplay, a teaser of the gameplay within the ad itself, and then after that, chances are that he will end up clicking on the install button and then go to the Play Store or the App Store, as the case may be, and install the app, right? So playable ads are there, interactive video ads are coming in, right? So it's all about sort of how do you keep innovating uh, on the format axis or on the format dimension, and you kind of keep your advertisers happy, right? Because if you offer a bespoke custom format to the advertiser, he's more than happy because he's not getting access to this particular format elsewhere, right? So that's how you kind of build a moat in the advertising space. The third is obviously supply scale, right? For you, again mapping it back to the advertiser goals. Now think of it from the perspective of a marketer, right? They have a certain ad budget and would likely want to spend on it on few large serious players, right? They don't want to kind of go down the long tail and spend like, okay, let me spend $1,000 on this particular website, this particular niche website, right? And then other, let's say $300 on another niche website, right? So on and so forth, right? So to be a serious player in ad tech space, you need to have a lot of supply. What that means is you should have a lot of shelf space, a lot of ad spaces where you can run those ads, right? This is precisely the reason why Disney Plus Hotstar was such a serious player, right? Because you have video content that is playing, and in between there are natural ad breaks that you can insert. So potentially, like theoretically, you have like infinite ad space. As long as you can get the user to kind of keep watching content on your platform, you can keep showing, you can keep having these ad breaks in between, and you can keep showing video ads in between, right? Which again kind of fits natively into that video content that he's already watching, right? So having a lot of supply makes you a serious player, right? This is exactly the reason why the likes of Times Internet, right? So basically what that means is the first premise is you should have a lot of page views, a lot of visits, right? Your traffic should be like really, really high, and hopefully when the user comes in, he spends fair bit of time on your platform, right? Which gives you the opportunity to kind of figure out some natural ad breaks where you can hopefully insert this ad without irritating the user, right? And you can basically keep you have supply elasticity, you can keep scaling that supply, and only then an advertiser will be keen to spend on you, because the advertiser doesn't want to go, a marketer doesn't want to go and spend on like gazillion websites, right? They want to work with like 2 or 3 large serious players, right?
अमर सर एक सवाल था. I have one question about the formats.
Yeah, yeah.
The formats, every publisher has their own marquee formats, or is it now that almost everyone will have all the formats available with them, or one has to go and pick and choose from that bouquet of offerings across the board?
Depends on, so a lot of formats, yes. To kind of answer that question, sir, a lot of formats have been standardized, but companies keep coming up with new formats, right? So even if you look at Facebook, right, they probably start with a single banner ad, then they ventured into carousels, then they got into video carousels, right? Then videos, and then they started getting into very jazzy ad formats, right? Where you can, like, think of it like, let's say Apple launches Vision Pro, right? So you kind of have a 3D ad format, right? You have like a 360 video ad playing, right? So stuff like that keeps on happening, right? So let's say tomorrow if Meta comes up with a 360-degree video ad, right, which you can even watch in a native in a regular browser, Chrome browser, I wouldn't be surprised, right? So they keep doing this stuff, right? And 360 video ads might work beautifully. So it's not like the format is necessarily a format that you kind of offer to all verticals. A format can be very, very native to a specific kind of advertiser, right? So if I, like the example I gave, that if I know that I have a lot of automobile companies advertising on my platform, I can often offer them a video ad with a companion where the user can book a test drive then and there. Similarly, when I'm talking about these 360 video ads, these 360 video ads will be of interest to a lot of travel players, right? Because you want to showcase, let's say a tourism board comes in, right? They want to showcase their country as a tourism destination in all its glory, right? So 360 video ads for them will become the right sort of medium to kind of showcase that entire sort of destination thing, right? So in a lot of cases, the format innovation also happens because you want to cater to a certain particular vertical of advertisers, right? Which is who spends a lot of dollars on your platform. So someone else might not be offering it, but you might be offering it specifically.
Got it. Understood. So in which case, in case if I'm targeting a particular kind of a format, I will have to go for that one publisher and kind of
Yeah, one
really.
particular very large advertiser. So let's say I have a lot of telecom companies coming in, right? So I will probably build a specific kind of format for telecom companies if I know that telecom companies spend a lot on my platform. If I have e-commerce companies coming in, I'll show a specific example. I have a lot of e-commerce companies coming in like Nika Mintra. I can build a very bespoke format that appeals to those kind of e-commerce companies. I have a lot of gaming companies coming in. I can build a playable ad format where gaming companies can showcase their gameplay. Now that caters exclusively to gaming advertisers. That does not necessarily cater to other kinds of advertisers, not a CPG advertiser, but gaming advertisers would be very, very interested if I offer them a playable ad because that allows them to showcase their gameplay within the ad itself and excite the user even more.
Got it. Makes sense. Thanks. I just, Anurag says some folks have just joined. Can you give a
Yeah.
quick 10-15 seconds summary on till what we've just discussed, and then we quickly jump over that?
So what we are just talking about, we are just kind of setting down the foundation of understanding the entire ad tech space. So we started with the key actors in this journey, right? So let me just quickly go back since there are only 2 3 slides. So we first talked about the key actors in ad tech space, right? So obviously you have an advertiser who is basically looking to advertise, looking for ad space to run their ads, right? And standard examples could be P&G, Flipkart, Audi, right? So you're looking for shelf space where you can run your ads, but then you also have very specific goals that you're looking to achieve, right? You might be either you're trying to drive brand salience or you're trying to drive recall or awareness, or you might be trying to kind of get user to do something then and there, right? So for example, let's say you have Flipkart and you show an electronics ad, right? You basically show the latest set of headphones that are available on your platform and try to get the user to click on that ad and basically buy it, right? On the other side of this equation are publishers who are looking to make money through running ads on their platform, right? And these are typically content websites. Yeah. But then there are e-commerce companies who are trying to make money through ads, right? So content websites could be Times Internet is a very large company. Anyone who has serious amount of traffic can make money through ads, right? So Times of India, NDTV, content sites obviously they make serious amount of money through ads. Then you have the big daddies, the Googles and Facebooks of the world, right? But then a lot of companies have now understood that ad tech is a strong can be a strong pillar for making money, right? So even the likes of Flipkart today, they're making serious money through ads. Paytm has invested into ads. MakeMyTrip today also runs ads on the platform, right? So anyone who has, like I said, serious amount of traffic can make money through ads, right? So on the other side of this equation are publishers, and the reason why they are called publishers are because they're publishing these ads on behalf of the advertiser, right? So those are the two large actors. Then we spoke about three large buckets of digital advertising. One is brand. Now, brand advertising basically means that the advertiser does not have a immediate direct action that he wants to get out of the user, just trying to drive awareness and recall. The second large bucket is performance, where the advertiser is running a very specific ad to basically get the user to click on the ad then and there, and then basically do a downstream action. It could be an app install, it could be a transaction, or it could be filling a lead form, right? It could be filling a form. So trying to get the user to kind of uh, do some action immediately, and hence that's why it is called performance, because for this particular advertising bucket, the advertiser expects you to meet the pricing criteria that has been set at the outset, right? So advertiser might say that, you know what, I'm going to pay you only $50 per install, right? And you have to meet that criteria, only then I'll give you that money, right? And third is retargeting, which is basically a sub bucket of performance, which is basically anyone who has visited your website app, you kind of go on chasing them on the rest of the internet wherever they go. So this is a sub bucket of performance, because again, retargeting means what you're trying to do is basically personalize the ad to an extent where you can get better click through rates you can get more users to click on the ad and do the complete the downstream action. But again, it's kind of a sub bucket of performance only. Just that the only cases that the users already done the first step of the action, he did not do the downstream action. So he kind of ended up clicking on the ad, ended up on your website app, then went away, and then you're trying to just retarget this user again. And then we were talking about what kind of things are important if you want to be a serious ads player, right? And I was trying to map it back to the advertiser goals, right? So the first advertiser goal is get very specific in terms of who you want to target, right? You don't want to waste your money targeting users who you know are not audiences for your products, right? So if I'm a shoe brand and I want to kind of sell shoes, then I would like to target depending on what kind of brand. Let's say I'm a very jazzy new age brand, right? And I have some really fancy shoes, so I want to target users in a certain age group, right? Or maybe I have outlets in a very specific location, so I want to use target users in very specific pin codes if I'm an offline brand, right? So stuff like that. Then the second bit is advertisers when they're looking to narrate their brand story or looking to showcase their products, they want creative formats, right, which meet their requirements. So an example that I was giving was that an trying to automobile company not only wants to showcase its latest car that it has launched in the market, it also wants users to book the test drive then and there, right? So it's a combination of brand advertising plus performance advertising. So a video ad with a companion lead form where the user can put in his phone number would work beautifully, right? So you kind of so you as a publisher offer this bespoke ad format to the advertiser, then the advertiser is happy that yes, this really matches my needs, and hence I'm happy to spend on your platform and not on someone else, right? Third bit was supply. If you want to be a serious ads player, obviously you have to have fair bit of page views and visits to your website and app. Until unless you have large amount of traffic, it is hard to kind of scale as a serious ads player, simply because when you look at it from a marketeer's perspective, they're looking to spend on 2 3 large publishers, right? They don't want to go on spending money with a lot of bunch of very specific niche websites. Would rather probably work with 3 or 4 large brands. So if I'm a marketeer and I'm looking to run video ads, I may talk to YouTube, I may talk to Hotstar, I may talk to let's say Geo Cinema today, right? Uh, so because there's only so much mind space a marketeer has, right? So to be able to be a serious player, obviously you need to have fair bit of supply, right? Shelf space to basically run those ads, right? So these are the 3 pillars we already spoke about. And the final pillar is basically operating metrics, right? So for example, given that performance demand is a very large bucket of demand, right, in a digital ad space, if you're not able to meet the advertiser goal, right, you're not able to. So let's say a gaming company, I'm Clash of Clans, I'm looking to run ads, and I want fair bit of installs, right? So I'm looking to drive app installs for my latest game that I've launched in the market, right? uh, and I'm looking to drive installs. So obviously, I'm looking at volume of installs. I'm looking at, let's say, can you get me 100,000 installs every day, right? Otherwise, it's no use spending on your platform, right? So can you get me 100,000 installs per day, right? Then that makes you a serious sort of player. And can you get me at the economics at which I'm willing to spend, right? So maybe I'm willing to spend, let's say, a couple of dollars per install. So are you able to deliver me installs with that kind of efficiency or not? If not, then you're not going to work out for me, right? So operating metrics is key, which means that and you will be able to deliver these kinds of operating metrics only if you have good click-through rates on your ads, you have good sort of conversion rates for downstream action, right? So once the user clicks on the ad, hopefully it goes and basically goes to the Play Store, App Store, and actually installs the ad. So efficiency becomes important. Impression efficiency, what I call is impression efficiency. How many times you showed the ad to the user and how many times you were able to elicit an action out of him, right? So, so that efficiency per 1,000 impressions, that's very typical in the ad tech industry, is very important, right? How many times you're able to get the user with the minimum amount of impressions that you can, right? Because on the other side of this equation is that you're also looking to make money, right? So you cannot waste too many impressions on getting an install because if you waste too many impressions, then you will not be able to make serious amount of money, right? You need to be able to get the downstream action going within minimum number of impressions that you can. So click-through rates become important, downstream action, install efficiency. So let's say after click, you're trying to drive the install, so click to install rate becomes important, and eventually all of it rolls up into what we call as action per thousand impressions. So let's say conversion per thousand impressions, right? Stuff like that. So that becomes really, really important. Only then you'll be able to scale the number that the advertiser is looking for, and also you will be able to make serious money for yourself. So deliver the cost per download or cost per transaction target is what is really, really important, right? Okay, so we spoke about formats. Let's look at some formats. So this is a very specific format that Disney Plus Hotstar launched for e-commerce companies. So you can see that this is basically a format where the top fold, the video is basically showcasing Mintra, right? So that lets them craft a brand narrative. But then the video ad is also accompanied by what we call as a companion ad. This is a typical sort of parlance in the ad tech industry. So the companion ad is basically showing, is also kind of showcasing a CTA, right? And trying to get an action out of the user, right? And basically down below they are also we are also showcasing some of the specific new sort of product launches or new brands or new wear options that are available on Mintra, right? So Disney Plus Hotstar was a serious brands player, and now if you brand advertising player, now if you want to go from brand advertising and eat into some of the performance advertising, how do you play to your strengths, right? So you keep your brand sort of core intact, where you tell the advertiser that, hey, not only will I help you narrate your brand story, I will also help you with a companion ad where the user can directly click on something. You basically have an active action or a CTA for the user, and you can basically get the user to click on the CTA and then directly drive transactions or revenue by running these ads, right? So that's how you do kind of innovation, and you know that a lot of e-commerce companies want to spend with you, so you kind of offer this customized ad format or bespoke ad format for these kind of advertisers, right?
Anurag sir, there's a hand raised by Pallavi.
Sorry.
Hey, Anurag, Pallavi this side.
Yeah.
Quick question on the user experience for this ad shown on Disney, right? If
Hmm.
I click on a particular item, I'll be taken away from the video that I was watching, and then I'll get whatever action I want to perform, right?
Mhm.
How the performance was for this kind of campaign with Disney Hotstar? Was it successful?
So there are two aspects to the question that you asked, right? So the first aspect is Disney Plus Hotstar. I think that's what you are getting at. Is Disney Plus Hotstar comfortable driving the user away from its
Yeah.
website app, right, and leading them on to third-party websites,
Hmm.
right? That's the first part of the question, right?
Hmm.
That's how I gathered. And the second part of the question is, was Disney Plus Hotstar successful at this attempt, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, so here is how when you look at ads as a core pillar of your strategy, right? Monetization strategy. The fundamental question starts even before this, right? Are we comfortable running ads on our platform, right? So it might not be much of a question, uh, or in fact, it could be a question for Disney Plus Hotstar also, right? So think Netflix, right? Netflix have for the longest time has never run ads on its platform, right? And they've decided to stick to a subscription-led model, right? Even though they're primarily a content player. So why did Netflix do it? Maybe Netflix felt that running ads on the platform basically uh, dilutes the premiumness associated with the platform, right? And they were probably more comfortable sticking to a subscription story. In OTT world, we call it SVOD, subscription video on demand, right? So you could potentially, so even for Disney Plus Hotstar, obviously there would have been a fundamental question. Obviously, those questions were decided before I came in, but Disney Plus Hotstar would have also thought, do I really want to get into advertising, or can I make a business out of it just by running subscriptions, right? So why run ads at all? Forget these kinds of ads which actually redirect the user from your platform to a third party website. Ultimately, at some level, ads are an interruption, right? So why run ads at all is the first question, right? Then the second question comes, which is, am I comfortable running only those kinds of ads which do not redirect the user from my platform, or am I comfortable running these kinds of ads also, right? So again, everything is a strategy discussion, right? So first step was to basically become a brand advertiser, right, and get carve out a big pie of the brand advertising demand that is there in India, right? Especially video advertising demand, like I said, is primarily for brands, right? So Hotstar is already good at it, but then you see that they're like millions of dollars being spent on performance advertising, right? If you want to tap into app install demand, Paytm trying to run an app install ad, right? Maybe Paytm is not a great example, but maybe a smaller brand trying to run an app install ad, right? And if you want to, as Disney Plus Hotstar, you want to get into that kind of demand bucket also, right? And you want to kind of capture that pie of the pool also, right? Then if you have decided that you want to do it, you will go ahead and do it, right? If Mintra comes to you with serious dollars on the table, you will probably take that punt and say that, you know what, if Mintra is going to spend, uh, let's say $3 to $4 million with me, right, every year, why not offer this performance? Why not offer this hybrid format that gives them both the opportunity to show their brand story as well as gives them the performance element of it also, right? So everything is a deliberate choice, right? Now, when you make those deliberate choices, then the second part of it comes, right? That how do you mitigate the negative effects of those choices that you have made, right? So, for example, in this particular case, let's say if I'm trying to offer an advertising for a performance advertising ad format on Disney Plus Hotstar, there are multiple ways in which I can mitigate this, right? First thing is, let's say if I have exclusive content that is available only on my platform, right? So let's say Game of Thrones. Now I know that even if I show you a Mintra ad in between, and let's say you got excited by the ad, which was the intention at some level, right? And you basically clicked on shop now and you went to the Mintra website or app, eventually you're going to come back to my platform only, right? So I don't really lose out by showing you a performance advertising sort of format, right? If anything, I have kind of been able to get those ad dollars which were not getting spent on my platform, and yet I have retained the user by showing it on content streams that are not available elsewhere, right? So I can always look at I can always experiment by running these formats and then look at whether that is negatively impacting the retention rates of my platform, right? In a lot of cases, no, because there is exclusive hero content that is available only on your platform if the user wants to watch that. So if I know this guy primarily consumes English content on my platform, he watches Game of Thrones, he watches a bunch of other things that are available only on my platform. I can take a punt and actually show him this ad format because I know the user will come back. The user will return, right? So these are all very, very deliberate choices that you have to make, right? And you have to be very strategic in terms of what kind of audiences you are showing these ads to, whether you are able to drive the operating metrics, etc. Now, coming back to the second part of the question, was this campaign successful? As far as I know, it was, right. This was a format that was actually launched before I joined them,
Okay.
but I think they did get, ultimately the simple success here is that Mintra did spend a lot of money with Disney Plus Hotstar, right, for that particular campaign, right? So that itself makes it successful. Whether it was they were able to, like, whether Disney Plus Hotstar was able to drive the kind of conversions through rates that Mintra was looking for, I'm not so sure
Okay.
because I was not privy to that particular campaign at that point of time.
Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
just a quick time check. We are at 8:47 now. Just trying to keep you on track.
Yeah, yeah. I'll quickly move it, right? So there are two formats, right? So again, a similar example with Avengers, where the studio was trying to kind of showcase their latest sort of. Actually, there's an in-house ad, Hotstar Premium ad, where we were trying to showcase, because we have a lot of shelf space and it's not being consumed all the time by advertisers, right? So we tried to show a Hotstar Premium ad to basically get the user to subscribe by showing all the different sort of titles that are available from this particular production house, right? The Avengers series, right? Okay, moving on. So we understood the advertiser goals, right? And we understood how you can become a serious player in ad space, right? So then now you know where you want to be, right? So what kind of challenges do you face in that journey, right? So let's take some examples. The first fundamental problem that every publisher feels is fill rates, right? What is fill rate? Fill rate is basically I have certain amount of ad space. So let's say I have, let's say, a million ad spots on my platform. I am able to fill, let's say, only 5,000, half a million out of them, right? So my fill rate is only 50%. So I could have potentially made 2x the money, I could have made much more money, depending on where I can drive this fill rate, to what number I can drive up this fill rate. But I'm not able to get sufficient advertising demand to basically fill my shelf space that I have, right? So that's a fundamental challenge as a publisher. Why that happens? Because in a lot of cases, for example, let's talk about the Disney Plus Hotstar case. For example, let's say someone is watching ये रिश्ता क्या कहलाता है, watching some vernacular Hindi content on Disney Plus Hotstar platform. A lot of advertisers, so even though users spending a lot of time watching this content on the platform, advertisers are not really interested in this kind of audience. They feel that people who are watching vernacular content on the platform are not really the kind of audience that they are looking to target, because they don't have a lot of discretionary money to spend. Let's say I'm Apple trying to showcase the latest iPhone, or I'm Sennheiser looking to showcase the latest headset. This audience is not really interesting. So for Disney Plus Hotstar, it's missed opportunity, right? Second big part of like one of the challenges as a publisher is how do you kind of keep scaling your demand, right? You keep reaching out to larger audience buckets, advertiser buckets. You keep reaching out to more and more advertisers, but it shouldn't come across as that you are catering to every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the planet, right? So again, taking a very specific example, so let's say I'm Disney Plus Hotstar. Am I comfortable if a liquor brand runs ads on my platform, right? Am I comfortable like taking it to a more crude direction? Am I comfortable if a brand tries to run sexual wellness products on my platform, right? Maybe I'm not, right? So when you try to scale demand on your platform to solve for the first problem, which is the fill rate problem, you run into some of these other issues. Like, are you comfortable? What kind of advertisers you are comfortable with who are running ads on your platform? Are you looking to maximize revenue, or are you looking to still showcase to your eventual consumer when they see the ads that, okay, this platform only gets fancy ads like ads from Flipkart, Myntra, maybe Hotstar in-house premium ads, maybe an Audi ad, right? So you want to make sure that your eventual customer or eventual user who is basically consuming content on your platform does not get irritated, right? The third big challenge as a publisher is targeting, right? Offering very granular targeting, like the example I took earlier, that if I want to offer uh, targeting to an upcoming upstart D2C shoes brand who have fancy shoes, and they're looking for very specific pin code targeting, plus users who are in a certain age bucket, plus users who are enthusiastic about shoes. It's very, very hard to get that targeting available for the advertiser, right? Because let's say again, in a lot of cases, let's say I'm Times of India, I have no way to get the data out of the user that, hey, is this guy a shoes enthusiast or not, right? If I'm NDTV, I cannot get that information, right? There is no legitimate use case as a publisher to somehow extract that information out of the user, right? But the likes of Facebooks and Googles of the world have all of this information and more, right? So again, how do you build how do you scale up your targeting options on the platform, right, and are able to cater to a large spectrum of advertisers is a key challenge as a publisher. And the final bit, like we spoke about, the supply scale. If you want to be a serious publisher, you have to have tons of page views, visits, and then you have to opportunistically insert ads at the right places, at the right spot, so that you don't irritate. It's always a balance that you need to maintain so that you don't irritate the user, and yet you're offering enough ad spots or enough supply scale to your advertiser, right? So these are the specific challenges that you face when you're trying to kind of get to the holy grail that we spoke about. So again, extending from that, only Hotstar challenges, we already spoke about it, right? So obviously, limited demand. So Hotstar was a very serious player in brand advertising space, right? Because the brand advertising bucket, where you're just trying to drive awareness or recall, for the in the minds of the end consumer, right? That's much easier when you are a video ads player, right? So that kind of demand bucket naturally aligned well with Hotstar's strengths, right? But if you are looking to do performance advertising, right? In the question that came up, if you're looking to do performance advertising, and let's say when you are live telecasting a cricket match, right? Live streaming a cricket match on your platform, most of the users are watching it in landscape mode, right? So where is the opportunity to basically run a companion? Where is the space to run a companion ad where you try to get the user to install an app in between, right? Most likely he's not going to, right? So that becomes a challenge, right? So becoming a serious performance advertising player was a challenge for Hotstar, right? So they were not able to scale demand beyond brand advertising, right? And the other case I spoke about, right? A lot of users, a lot of users are watching Hindi content on the platform, but advertisers are not interested in tapping into those users, right? So you have this issue of fill rates, right? So that's a problem. The second big problem, you don't have any interest data, you don't have any intent data. As an OTT, I have no business get. At least it's very difficult for me to get intent data. Like it's very hard for me to figure out whether you're actually actively looking to buy a car at this point of time or not, right? Or you are actually an electronics enthusiast or not, right? So if Bose comes to Disney Plus Hotstar and says that, you know what, I have launched this latest headset and I want to target users who are interested in electronics, you offer me that audience targeting. Disney Plus Hotstar has no option but to say sorry. I don't have a way to get this data from the user. I don't know who is an electronics enthusiast and who is not, right? So it's a big problem, right? Most of the content websites who are serious ads players actually have this problem, right? So similar problem will be faced by Money Control and the TV Times of India also, right? And we'll talk about how Hotstar would probably mitigate some of these challenges. And the third point is basically in the ad tech ecosystem, what happens is you don't go out there and do the heavy lifting of getting all the demand in yourself, right? You can basically go out there and partner with another party, right? Who is looking for shelf space to run ads, right? So you can basically always go out there and let's say partner with a Google Ad Exchange, right? You can basically integrate with the Google Ad Exchange, and through Google, a lot of advertising demand will start flowing to you, right? Or you can maybe partner with a Trade Desk or a Media Math, right, which is a demand side platform. That's the last bit of jargon that we'll use here. But broadly, what I'm saying is that you can go and collaborate with some other party, right? So you have a challenge of demand. You go to someone who has a lot of demand. So Google has a lot of demand, and Google does not have enough shelf space on his in-house properties to show those ads. So you go partner with Google Ad Exchange and say that you send me the demand, I'll run the ads. Problem there is the issue of premiumness that we spoke about, right? It's very hard for me to then figure out that, you know what, a gambling ad is not showing up on my platform or not, right? I don't want a rummy or a teen patti or a poker bazi ad to run on my platform. I don't want a liquor ad on my platform. So yes, there are content controls that these platforms offer, but when you start running some of these other when you integrate with some of these third party ad exchanges, you start running into these issues, right? You cannot control the quality of ads that are being shown on the platform, right?
Hey, Anurag, one question on the slide that you were just talking about, right? When we sort of say that since we don't have intent data and we sort of partner with the DSP platform to basically get intent data, something like
No,
Google Ads, right?
those are two different points. No intent data is a targeting issue, right? To unlock
Okay.
more demand, I need to be able to offer more granular targeting options for the advertisers, right?
Right.
And I don't have that kind of data on my platform because I'm primarily a content platform, right? I'm not Facebook where people will declare their interests to me, or they will declare their relationship status to me, or they will declare where they work, right? So I don't have that
Right.
kind of access to that kind of information, so I cannot offer that kind of granular targeting to the advertiser. Hence, a lot of advertisers would not be interested. Like the example I
Got
took,
it.
that if Bose comes to Disney Plus Hotstar and says, I want to target people who are interested in electronics, Hotstar directly does not have a way to offer that targeting to Bose.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Just wanted to understand what is the exact problem that demand side platform solves then? It's like demand generation.
Yeah, yeah. So the third part, like I spoke about. So let's say I have vernacular Hindi content that is being watched on my platform, right? And I know that if my direct sales team, when they're talking to advertisers, they are not interested in running ads on this particular kind of content, right? But I have a lot of ad spots that are going waste. What do? I go and partner with Google Ad Exchange, or I partner with Trade Desk, right? I tell them that, you know what, through you, I am happy to run ads on my platform. So that gives me access to a bucket of demand that I'm not able to unlock myself directly, right? So my sales team, whenever they talk to advertisers are saying that no, we only want to target premium users, English content watchers. I have a lot of Hindi content, so I might as well go partner with someone who has advertising demand coming in, and they are happy to run it on my platform.
Got it. Just one last follow-up question on this. So when you are partnering with the DSP platform, right? So the challenge, just one challenge you clearly mentioned that you limited control on the kind of ads that they display.
Yes,
The
yes.
other one I wanted to, sort of clarify, is it also, the ads experience, right? Will they also use specific kinds of ads only, or will it like the user interface will be something like a Google Ad ka standard template that may or may not be good for us? Is that also a major challenge?
Yeah, kind of yes and no. So yes. So when you partner with a third party, obviously you have to stick to the template formats that they offer, right? Then it's not your in-house format that you are running, right? They basically offer ad payloads in a certain format. You have to run that only, right? And that's the standard construct in the industry. Not that it's a big problem, right? So, for example, carousel ads are now standard in the industry. Everyone offers carousel ads, right? So they will be able to run carousel ads, or for example, in-stream video ads, right? So video stream, your content video is playing, and then it pauses, and then the ad break comes, and then again it continues from there, right? Uh, so standard formats are there. You can very well use them. Uh, just in some cases, what happens is that uh, the standard formats might not be natively suited to the environment that you offer, right? So, for example, let's say you find that from Google Ad Exchange, you get a lot of in-stream video ads, yes, but most of this in-stream video ads are performance ads, and you are not comfortable running them on your platform, then it becomes a challenge for you, right? So what you don't want, you want a lot of in-stream video ads, but you want most of these ads to be basically brand ads. You don't really want you want to highlight too much. You don't really want to highlight the CTA too much. But the Google Ad Exchange format guidelines will say that no, you have to highlight the CTA, and that's one of the core KPIs of integrating with Google Ad Exchange, right? And that then becomes a challenge.
Hey, yeah, thanks, that answers it.
Yeah. All right. Right. So we learned about Hotstar challenges, right? So then the question comes that, hey, I have limited demand, I have a fill rate issue, and I have a massive fill rate issue. Why? Because I have like 20 million DAOs, right? Crazy DAOs. Like that's the DAOs that Hotstar had is actually typically the scale of MAUs for e-commerce companies, right? So what e-commerce companies get in a month, Hotstar used to get in a day, right? So limited demand was a huge issue. Targeting was a huge issue. Like not having enough data about the user was a huge issue. So to be able to offer granular targeting options was a big problem. And Hotstar was very clear in their minds that they did not want to partner with a Google Ad Exchange or a DSP, right? They were very clear that they wanted to maintain the sanctity of the platform, and they wanted to maintain the premiumness of the platform, right? So what's the choice? So based on this, right, based on the challenges that we have, so we have a demand issue, we have a targeting issue, and we don't want to dilute premiumness. Any idea comes to mind that who can Hotstar partner with to kind of unlock a large advertising demand source and yet not dilute premiumness, right? And hopefully in the process maybe offer better targeting options to the advertiser also. Anything comes to mind? Any companies come to mind whom Hotstar could partner with?
How about data providers, like data brokers?
Fair, absolutely. Data brokers is definitely a good answer. Anything else? Any other option? Yeah. So Hotstar did used to work with a few data brokers for sure. Uh, okay. So what are the key attributes of such a partner, right? That partner should be data rich, right? So that's why the data brokers came into the picture, right? That partner though should have a supply problem, right? Like I have a problem of supply which is very, very plentiful, but I don't have enough audience information. On the other side, if I have someone who is extremely data rich but has a supply problem, so they can potentially run a lot of ads, right? Because they have a lot of audience information, but they don't have enough shelf space on their own properties to basically run those ads, right? And what else do you want? Like we spoke about, we want a player who will be able to unlock premium advertising demand, right? Like advertising demand from some really good blue chip companies, right? So these are the typical attributes. These would be the attributes of a partner who you would like to work with, right? And hence the answer was horizontal e-commerce firms, right? E-commerce firms have all the intent information, right? They know exactly this user is looking for a electronics product, this user is looking for shoes, this user is looking for apparel, right? So they have a lot of audience information. They don't want to run a whole lot of ads on their platform because what they want is get the user to buy the product, right? So yes, they want to be a serious player in ads because they get a lot of page views and visits, and they have a lot of user information, a lot of users who come to their platform, but they don't have enough shelf space on their platform. Yes, they run ads, they run brand shows and all, but if they want to scale it, they have to go to a third party platform, right? So they are happy to kind of come to Hotstar, right? And if you work with a large e-commerce firm which has a lot of good blue chip brands working with them, obviously you get access to a lot of premium advertising demand. And that's why uh, when Hotstar had to kind of solve this problem, we went and spoke to Flipkart. Uh, Flipkart had problems of their own, in fact, completely complementary to us, right? So then it made sense for the two parties to come together and basically offer this ads platform. So how did this integration work? So the final integration was, I'll just complete the story. So what was happening here was that Flipkart had a lot of audience information, right? So the advertiser would actually onboard their campaigns. So Flipkart is offering advertiser console, right, where advertiser can come and basically configure their campaigns, right? So Flipkart, what Flipkart is doing, Flipkart is practically behaving like a reseller for Hotstar supply. So advertiser comes, onboards its campaign on Flipkart's platform, right? And obviously they upload the creatives. They ask for the they specifically set the targeting thing that they want, right? So I want to target this particular kind of user, right? Female 25 to 34 interested in cosmetics, etc. That information sits with Flipkart, but since Flipkart does not have that supply, what they do is they send that ad payload to Hotstar, right? So whenever someone fires up the Hotstar app, an ad request goes to Flipkart. Flipkart has these advertising campaigns configured on their console, right? And then Flipkart is then sending that advertising demand back to Hotstar, and that ad is being shown on Hotstar, right? So Flipkart is kind of behaving like a DSP for Hotstar, just that it's a custom bespoke integration that we did with Flipkart, right? And it made a lot of sense, right? Is the integration picture clear? So
Anurag,
the campaign is being configured on Flipkart, not on Hotstar, and Flipkart
how
is
does
basically
the
request to response to Hotstar. Yeah, go on.
sorry about that. Sorry. So how does the identity stitching work in this case? Like, how does, like from an ad targeting perspective, what is most important is you're identifying the individual correctly, or at least the demographics correctly, right? So
Correct.
how is the identity stitching working between Flipkart and Hotstar?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there is a so here is the thing, right? Ad tech, because it has evolved. Uh, like this industry has been there forever, right? And a lot of standard constructs have evolved in this particular industry. One of the standard constructs in this industry is a user identifier, right? And the user identifier that is out there, it is actually saliently offered by the platforms themselves as a standard thing, right? So let's say you are on an Android device, right? There's a Google advertising identifier that is associated with your device, right? And you can reset it, but every time you reset it, you again get a unique identifier that uniquely identifies you, right? So what
Hmm.
Flipkart and Hotstar were doing was matching that user identity on that particular Google advertising ID, right? So Hotstar, when it sends the ad request, it passes that advertising ID to Flipkart, right? Well, not really directly. It was a scrambled advertising ID, but both parties were using the same sort of scrambling algorithm, so you would match. So Hotstar, when it sends the ad request, not only it sends the ad request saying that, hey, I have the opportunity to to show a 15-second video ad here, it is also sending the user advertising ID in that request. Flipkart then looks it up in its own internal data store and finds that, hey, this advertising ID is actually a shoes enthusiast, and hence it makes sense to basically maybe show a Hush Puppies ad. So the advertising campaign, let's say a Hush Puppies campaign is configured, so that that ad payload will be picked up and sent back as a response to Hotstar, and then it will be shown.
Got it.
And
And
similarly,
so
in the ID ecosystem, there is the advertising, the identifier is called IDFA, which is ID for advertisers. So both OSs actually offer the standard thing.
right, there's some scrambling around like IDFA as well now, right? Like Apple's kind of like gotten
Yes,
into the business of
yes,
trying to
yes.
push less and less ads there. But one quick follow-up question there, Anurag, if you don't mind. So this identity stitching assumes that the users are on mobile platform, or at least you have some sort of demographic connect between the mobile user versus a TV user, right? So Hotstar predominantly, I'm assuming, also might have TV as a source of, sort of
Not
like the
really, not
viewing.
really. That was very
Oh,
surprising for me when I joined Hotstar. Actually, mobile was the primary source of. It might have changed now, but back in 2018-19 when I was with them, mobile was like the predominant platform, not even like desktops and laptops, etc. Right? Not even TVs.
got it.
TVs were still kind of early. So this integration was done for mobile, but there are ways to solve this. Again, even smart TVs, because they run these OSs, they come with those identifiers like I spoke about. And if you're trying to do it on web, then the way to do it would be uh, basically the way to do it is basically integrating. You must have heard of these marketing pixels, right? Or retargeting pixels. So the way to do it is basically add a Flipkart JavaScript code on Hotstar website, so that then Flipkart knows that this is the same user. They are able to push a cookie ID when the user visits the Hotstar website or Hotstar website, and then Flipkart knows that this particular cookie ID belongs to this particular user, and then it's able to look up in its data store and say that, okay, this user is a electronics. So web, obviously the retargeting ads, everything works basis cookie IDs, right? The small script of code from Flipkart needs to be on Hotstar. In the mobile phone world, it is IDFA and Google Ad IDs, and even in the smart TV world, also it is Google Ad IDs and IDFAs, right? So that's how it works. Uh, clear, right?
Yep. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay, so let's come to, was this is this does this make sense to kind of stop here, or should we go further, right? If I'm Hotstar, I'm looking to scale my advertising demand further, right? How could I make this better, right? Right. So what am I actually trying to do, right? What I'm trying to basically, so obviously Flipkart became one demand partner, right? And I was able to source ads from them, and my fill rates went up, right? So should I be just happy here, or can I do better from here, right? So what I can actually do if I'm Hotstar, right, is to basically onboard multiple such partners, right? Why limit yourself to Flipkart alone, right? You can go work with Nika also. You can go work with Reliance Agio also, right? And then all of these individual partners will then have advertisers onboarding campaigns with these individual guys, right? And I can source all of that demand and basically kind of run it on Hotstar, right? So what I'm practically doing is basically building an ad exchange myself, right? Instead of going and partnering with Google Ad Exchange, I can build my own private ad exchange where I onboard partners like Flipkart, Nika, Agio, right? And through them, I harness or access a lot more advertising demand than I ever could, right? For the simple reason that all of these partners are data rich, can supply a lot of audience information, and that interests the advertiser to basically onboard their advertising campaigns. They will never come and directly advertise with Hotstar, but they're happy running these ads with Flipkart, Nika, Geo, right? In return, all of these partners get to scale their own ads business, right? So it's a win-win for both parties. It's a win for Hotstar, it's a win for these, right? So effectively, uh, the final picture was we kind of built up ad exchange where each of these partners could kind of integrate with us. What was additional there was that basically these partners, let's say that a user fires up the Hotstar app and I have an ad spot. I can send that ad request. I can basically send that ad request to Flipkart, to Nykaa, to Agio, and all three parties, if all of them are interested in this particular user, they can compete against each other, right? So you basically accept bids from these users and you sell the ad spot to the highest bidder, right? So you built an exchange of sorts, or rather, it's an actual exchange where not everyone can come in and integrate. You offer it to select partners, but then they're competing against each other. So not only it increases your advertising demand, it also increases your yield, right? The amount of money you're making every 1,000 impressions, right? So that is what Hotstar did. Is this the final picture? And then obviously there is in-house demand. Well, is this the final picture? There is another aspect to this, right? So we have looked at this entire case study from Hotstar's perspective. What is Flipkart trying to do here? Let's try and understand that also, right? So here is Flipkart. Here's an advertiser, more advertisers, right? A lot of advertisers that Flipkart wants to onboard, right? And Flipkart has partnered with Hotstar now, and it is able to send ads to Hotstar, and hence it's able to make money. But should they restrict themselves only to Hotstar? No, right? Because like Hotstar is trying to build an ad exchange and onboard more demand partners. Similarly, Flipkart, conversely, should not restrict itself only to Hotstar, right? What they're trying to effectively, what they are building actually is effectively a DSP, right? So Flipkart is not just partnering with Hotstar. They can go partner with Netflix. They can go partner with, let's say, a Lonely Planet, so on and so forth, right? So so Flipkart effectively was building a private DSP of sorts, and Hotstar built a private ad exchange of sorts, right? And Flipkart not only partnered with Hotstar, they went on and basically partnered with a bunch of other companies also, right? And that becomes like the final sort of picture for this particular case study. Now you might think that this was pretty cool on Flipkart's part, but actually not so much. Uh, we'll skip over the challenges slide. We talked about the identity issue. There are a bunch of other things also, but there are already smart companies out there that have been doing it at scale for the longest time, right? So for example, Amazon already, if you think about Amazon ads, you should not think about only what they're running on their own website or app, right? Amazon has gone all in into programmatic ads, and Amazon DSP is one of the largest DSPs out there in the world, and they make serious money through DSP, right? So this is a snapshot from Digiday where I can clearly show you that the tech giant is trying to persuade advertisers to use its ad tech to buy ads from other publishers, not just on its own media. So when you think Amazon ads, it's now a very, very serious player in ads business. I don't remember the latest numbers, but a significant chunk of their revenue actually comes from ads. And most of it is actually Amazon DSP, not just in-house ads, right? So this is a construct that is now slowly becoming very, very common in the industry, right? Anyone who has a lot of audience information but does not have enough supply, or cannot get enough supply on its own platform, is everyone is now building a DSP, right? You might be surprised, Paytm has a DSP today, right? Flipkart already built this DSP, right? And Flipkart makes serious amount of money through this process. So yeah, so that's the first case study. I'll stop here and take any questions if anyone has any questions.
Hi, Anurag. You said Flipkart and Amazon are looking for increasing the supply. So, will it be right to assume that first they fill their current supply, like their fill rate would be closer to 100%, and then they would be passing on the additional, demand as a demand supply?
Uh, no. So if you look at it from the perspective of Flipkart, right, they're not really looking to solve the fill rate problem. They're trying to solve the supply problem, right? The fill rate problem is being trying. The fill rate problem Hotstar is trying to solve, right? So was the question around Hotstar, or was the question around?
No, so as per my limited reading, I read that some of the new players, especially RMNs, retail media networks, they are also facing the fill rate problem or yield management problem. So especially the new ones like Paytm or Flipkart, if they are partnering with OTT platforms, so how does they manage this trade-off that I have to fill my inventory, and then
Ah,
yeah.
great question. Great question. Awesome question, actually. Right. Uh, well, yeah, just give me a second.
Anurag, can you also give a better sense of what the question is? So I lost the question in between.
Yeah, so basically, what the question is basically the trade-off between when do I decide uh, when do I decide whether to fill a third party or when do I decide whether to run it on my own platform, right? And the reverse of this question is also there. So when I am trying to source ads from third party, right, I also have in-house demand coming in. It was in fact already there on my slide as one of the challenges. Let me talk about it. Just one second. So let's talk it out from both perspectives. I hope my screen is visible now. So,
It's
so
visible.
if I'm Hotstar, right, and I'm trying to source, so let's say a user comes, fires up the app. Now I have third-party demand coming in from Flipkart, Nykaa, etc. And but I also have my in-house demand, right, which my own direct sales team has gone out there and sold, right? So let's say they have gone out there and spoke to Audi and said, "Ki yaar, let's run Audi ads on Hotstar," right? Now it's one ad spot. Flipkart is also competing for it. Audi is also competing for it. How do I decide which one to run? Right? Because when my sort of commitment to the advertiser is that Audi has said that you will give me 1 million impressions during IPL. I have to commit, right? And I have to give 1 million impressions during the IPL, right? And now then I also have Flipkart now coming in from the side and saying that, you know what, I also want a piece of this user, right? So it's tough, right? Either you can go with a strategy where you say the highest bidder wins, come what may. I don't care if the Audi ad was giving me, let's say, $5 per thousand impressions, and the Flipkart ad was giving me $7 per thousand impressions. The Flipkart guy wins, right? But then you also don't want to ruin your relationship with your direct advertisers, right? Because you have certain commitments and guarantees that you are given to the user. So you could have a more sort of a nuanced strategy saying that, hey, this is a completely tier one advertiser on my platform. So come what may, if a tier one advertiser's campaign is supposed to be delivered on this particular ad spot, and if a third party ad is coming in, I will always give priority to the tier one advertiser, even if that pricing might be slightly lower than what the third party ad is giving me. For a tier two advertiser, maybe I'll go with a highest bidder wins kind of strategy, right? So all those kind of complex bidding problems were also there. So when I built this picture, actually, sorry, this picture, where I showed the third party demand coming in. So third party demand is actually also part of the same bidding process. Like for some advertisers, it is coming directly, it always takes priority, but for certain direct advertisers, they also go through the bidding process. So all those complexities you have to kind of wrangle at Hotstar's end, right? So those kinds of things we did. And similarly, likewise for Flipkart. Likewise for Flipkart, where they have a certain ad spot and they have an advertiser who has onboarded their advertising campaign, right? And they have a certain ad spot on their own homepage, and then they have an ad spot that they're finding on Hotstar, right? Will they run it on their own homepage or will they send it to Hotstar? Depends on what kind of retention impact they see. If they find that, hey, you know what, sending that ad to Hotstar is a better strategy because showing this ad to this user will irritate the user and the user will most likely drop, they will not show it, right? So imagine you are in the midst of the buying process, you are like on the product details page or review page. Now I have an ad spot there, but I know this particular user has a tendency to drop off when I show ads to this particular guy, right? I don't want to distract the user at that point of time. I might as well send the ad to Hotstar and not show it on my own platform, right? So all those kinds of nuances you have to handle. If the user is on the home page, maybe I'll show it on the home page. That's fine, right?
Anurag, I have a question. So how does Flipkart decides like what ads are being run on Hotstar or whether I should choose Hotstar over Netflix or Netflix over Hotstar?
See, ultimately, you have to tie it back to the tie it back to Flipkart goals, right? So, uh, Flipkart, what they're trying to do, they're trying to increase supply elasticity at the minimum possible cost, right? So, what is Flipkart doing? Flipkart, let's say, is getting $1 from the advertiser, and Hotstar is saying that for my shelf space, you have to bid at least 20 cents. So Flipkart knows that, you know what, the minimum price is 20 cents and 80 cents I can keep for myself if I choose to run this ad on Hotstar. and obviously some amount of dynamicity is there because Nika is also bidding, Geo is also bidding, so you don't know exactly what the final cost is going to be. But once you have run the ad, right? So let's say you are building a bidding system, right? So you say that okay, I will bid 0.2 cents and try and check if it is running on Hotstar. If you did not win the bid, then you increase it, then you increase it. You get to a point where you know that if I bid 40 cents, I know I will bid. I on an average I tend to win the auction, right? So now I know if advertiser gives me $1, typically the cost of buying that shelf space of Hotstar is 40 cents. I get to keep 60 cents for myself. Similarly, I do that same maths with Netflix. Similarly, I do that same maths with some other player that I'm integrating, Lonely Planet, right? Now, if I find that Netflix, I'm able to win far more easily at, let's say, 38 cents. I don't have to bid 40 cents. Then obviously I will choose Netflix, right? So this is a slightly simplistic picture. Again, depends on. So let's say I'm trying to run a performance advertising demand, right? So Hotstar is giving that shelf space to me for 40 cents and Netflix is giving that shelf space to me at 38 cents. My tendency would be go with Netflix because I'm getting it is less costly for me and I get to keep more cents for myself. But then also depends on when the ad is shown on Netflix, is the user actually clicking on the ad and doing the app install or not? If not, I will go with Hotstar, right? So all that economics and maths needs to be done. So it's completely mathematical. It is completely so ultimately what you're looking at is what is the cost of install you are incurring when you are running it on Hotstar versus Netflix. And if the cost of install on Hotstar comes out to be lower, even though the cost of that ad spot is slightly higher, you go with Hotstar, right? So all that maths needs to be done at Flipkart's end to understand who is coming out cheaper, and accordingly you kind of prioritize that particular source over the other.
So it majorly depends on the end goal for that particular.
No, major. See, ultimately you're trying to make more money only. You're trying to kind of, the end goal is to maximize your part of the share, right? So if advertiser is giving $1, how much cost I have to pass on to the eventual publisher, right? So if I have to pass on 20 cents versus 30 cents, I'll choose the publisher where I have to pass on 20 cents only. So ultimately it's a revenue maximization strategy only. But the revenue maximization cannot just be basis that, oh, this guy is asking me 20 cents as the floor price and the other guy is asking 30 cents, so I go with the 20 cents guy. No, because what might happen is that even though the other guy is asking only 20 cents for that shelf space, eventually you show the ad but the user does not install the app, right? So your efficiency, you ended up paying 20 cents but you did not get the final thing that you were looking for, which was an app install, right? Advertiser has onboarded an app install, right? So what you're looking for is what is the cost you have to incur for driving 100 installs or 1000 installs or one install, right? And based on that you choose. So if Hotstar is able to deliver you installs for 50 cents and Netflix is able to offer you drive the same set of installs for, let's say, 55 cents, you will go with Hotstar. But the maths is not just based on the floor price, the maths is based on the final install efficiency also. Did I confuse you, or should I show it on Excel? I can show it on Excel also.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anurag, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, say there are, say, publishers like Netflix who have a different set of audience. Maybe people who watch vernacular content, Hindi content, and there are people who watch English content. And suppose publishers like these also show ads on their platform. And if they say they have promised, say they will give 1 lakh views of, say, uh, views to users who watch English content.
Mm-hmm.
But can the brands verify on their part that whether the Netflix that they have promised
Great
that they
question.
will show it to,
Awesome
say, 1
question.
lakh users, will
You
they
guys
give it
are
to
asking
Hindi
this
users?
such good, awesome questions. Yes, that's a great question.
Because they can fake it, maybe, I don't know.
Absolutely. So let me kind of expand this a little bit. Forget this case study, right? Forget this case study at all, right? When you go run ads on Facebook and Facebook says that, you know what, you opted for gender targeting, you opted for female audiences. How do you know that Facebook actually showed your ad to female audiences? Do you know? Forget this case study. This is an overall general problem in the ad tech industry. If Facebook claimed that I showed 1 million impressions to female between 25 to 34 years of age, and you have configured your ads and they have shown it, and now for 1 million impressions, they're, let's say, charging you $1,000. So do you pay them $1,000 or do you not? Or do you go and question that are you I'm not really sure whether you showed it to female audiences. How do you evaluate it?
So, as if on a personal level, to evaluate just one check that is not fully correct, is I can do is say if one of my friends or I line that person, I can sign in as a that user and see that whether I am able to see that. But
Mhm.
again, that would won't fully convince me that whether all the impressions are coming from that audience or maybe different audience also. For that, I think there may be some way to check, but I don't
So,
know.
so here is the answer to that question. So what happens is, see, Google and Facebook, because they're the big daddies of this world, they are kind of self-reporting, right? So you can only anecdotally check, like you said, right? You will log in as a female audience, and then maybe you will create a profile, and then basically you will try and check whether you are being shown those ads or not. So Google and Facebook's, because they are big daddies of the world, they go away, they get away by just self-reporting themselves, right? Everything is questionable, right? Did they actually deliver a million impressions? You don't know. Did they actually deliver it to women audiences? You don't know, right? Did the video actually play on an average for 6 seconds? You don't know, right? But you have to take it for granted, right? Because there's no way, right? Those are the typical channels where you run your ads, and basically, if you are able to, let's say, get transactions on your, you are a D2C brand, you are able to get transactions on your website on certain cost basis, you are happy, right? That hey, I'm happy to spend $500 for a transaction. Whatever Google is saying, I don't care. Whatever Facebook is saying, ultimately, I'm able to get a transaction for 500 rupees. Transaction I'm able to monitor, and and Facebook is telling me $500 per transaction. I'm happy to pay it, right? Having said that, companies like Hotstar cannot get away by self-reporting themselves, right? So what happens, and it's a key point that you have pulled up. So what happens is there is an audit mechanism, and the way that audit mechanism works is there are a lot of companies out there who are in data space, right? Who are in audience business. So for example, Nielsen is one such company that is in audience business. So what happens is every time a Flipkart ad is being run on Hotstar, Flipkart also sends a Nielsen sort of piece of code as part of that ad payload, right? And the commitment from Hotstar side is whenever I run this ad, I will also fire this Nielsen code, right? So Nielsen gets a hit, right? Nielsen gets a hit with the advertising identifier that we spoke about, right? The user identity in ad tech space is standard. You the Nielsen code is fired, so Nielsen gets a hit, and you also pass the user identity saying that this particular Google ad ID. Now Nielsen has its own internal reporting suite which tells, based on their data, their assessment or their market research tools, that this user is a male or a female, and from Nielsen Flipkart gets that data, right? So Flipkart is not relying on Hotstar. Flipkart is relying on actually Nielsen to tell them that Hotstar said that they delivered this campaign to this particular audience, and they're claiming that this is a female. Are you with me that this is a female or not? So based on the accuracy, right? So obviously Hotstar is not 100%. So what Hotstar also does to scale its audiences, run a lot of data science models. So let's say we have gender information for, let's say, 20% of our users. We use data science models to scale that information and say that 20% users we have deterministic data, 80% users we are determining the gender data based on some data science model which has certain accuracy, right? And based on that data science model, we are delivering the impressions. Obviously, the data science model is not 100% perfect. So let's say if I delivered 1,000 impressions, it might turn out that 98 of them, and I claim 1,000 impressions, 980 of them were female, but 20 were not female. So my accuracy is 98%. Then Nielsen will tell that Hotstar said that I delivered 1,000 impressions, but Hotstar was claiming all 1,000 were female, but only 980 of them were female. Rest 20 were male. So Hotstar has an accuracy of 98%. Now Flipkart will look at the data and say, am I comfortable with the 98% accuracy? Maybe I am, right? And so I pay Hotstar money. If Flipkart says no, I am not comfortable with 98% accuracy, I need 99.5% accuracy, then Hotstar has to accordingly adjust, make that data science model even more robust, more tight, less what false positive cases, and then accordingly then deliver the campaign, right? So these kind of auditing mechanisms work everywhere.
Got it, got it. This helps a lot. And just one follow-up question. So when you mentioned that Nielsen passes this data that this identifies male or female, so I think then at that point Flipkart maybe also is also enriching their data for future use. that that person is maybe male or female, maybe
Yeah,
to
yeah.
use it
So
in the future
enrichment
campaigns.
can happen both sides, right? So Hotstar can look at Hotstar and try and understand the ad payload from the Flipkart and say, oh, this user Flipkart sent a shoe ad. That means this guy is a shoe enthusiast, right? So I can
Right.
try read the meta information and try to enrich my own audience. Flipkart on the other side can absolutely, if they are short on gender data, though Flipkart has chance of better gender data than Hotstar, but if they are short on certain, if Flipkart wants to find out which kind of users watch more premium content on Hotstar, they can they can basically because I'm sending them in the ad request, I'm sending that information that okay, this the user is watching this particular genre of content on my platform, right? And this particular series or soap on my platform, then Flipkart can obviously consume that data and basically enrich their audiences for future use. So enrichment can happen both sides.
Anurag,
Got this helps. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anurag, one quick question on this one only. Is it okay for Hotstar to directly approach Nielsen for such an audit, or is it always going to happen through Flipkart, like Flipkart being involved because they are firing the code essentially? So, what's your take on that?
Actually, so it can be done both ways. Generally, what happens is Flipkart can pass on the Nielsen pixel to Hotstar, and Hotstar can execute it. Or what Hotstar can do, they can directly integrate the Nielsen SDK and automatically and then open up a dashboard for Flipkart Nykaa Jio to see कि boss वो dashboard पे जाकर के directly देख लो I have a standard integration with Nielsen, right? And both possibilities are there, right? So for example, there are other kinds of audits that also happen, not just gender, right? So for example, Hotstar, when you are dealing with video ads, the advertiser wants to know whether the for how long the video ad was played, right? Whether the audio was on or not on, right? So all those kinds of other metrics are also there. Like the advertiser wants to look at quartile metrics. Was 25% of the ad played, 50%, 75%, or the entire ad was seen, or did the user skip it? Especially a lot of video ads can be skippable, right? Audio was on. Did the user even hear what was being said, or did they not hear, right? So there are other companies. For example, there's this company called Moat, like literally named Moat, right, which offer an SDK that Hotstar integrated and then transparently publish a dashboard to all the advertiser. Ki boss, here you can see this is a third party partner that I've integrated with. I don't manipulate my metrics. I have put the Moat code within my app. So Moat code automatically, or the Moat SDK automatically is determining how much length of the video ad is being played, and they are independently auditing these metrics. I have no hand in this, and you can directly go look at the dashboard and figure out what kind of quartiles you are getting on your ad play, etc. Right? So both approaches are possible. You can directly partner with Nielsen and pay them like a standard platform fee for the year, or you can get the code from the advertiser and execute it, and then advertiser can look at their own dashboard with Nielsen. Right? Both approaches are possible. Now, what happens is if uh, why would I pay a platform fee to a Nielsen or a Moat if the advertiser already has a partnership with Nielsen, right? There is no reason for me to incur additional cost as a Hotstar, right? So I might as well go and tell advertiser, boss, you already have an ongoing relationship with Nielsen, right? You advertise on so many different platforms. You just give me the Nielsen code, I will execute it. Why will I go directly partner with Nielsen and incur a platform cost, which is additional cost for me, right? So that is one way of thinking about it, right? So what happened in the ad tech industry, Nielsen came before Hotstar came, right? Nielsen is a very old player in the system. So it's now a standard thing where advertisers work with Nielsen's of the world directly, and I don't need to go pay platform fee to Nielsen. However, if I'm trying to differentiate myself from the crowd, let's say for example I say that hey, you know what, I'm a video ads player, I'm a serious video ads player, and video ads have only now come in the industry, and we have these now cool metrics where I can declare quartiles, and I can give you whether the audio was on or not, whether it was visible, whether you can even do things like whether the video was visible on the viewport or not. For example, 20% of the video was peeping in from below, right? But 80% of the video was not visible. Then what's the point, right? So let's say it's an infinite feed of videos, and you're scrolling, and a video ad played, but only 20% of the video was seen and 80% was not visible. So what I can do is, if I want to carve myself out as a serious video ads player and want to differentiate myself from other publishers, what I can do is I can proactively go integrate with Moat. right? And in that case, I'm happy paying a platform fee because that helps me unlock more advertising demand, right? So I go to market with a moat integration before everyone else, and that certifies me as a much more serious video player than anyone else in the market, right? So depends on what the evolution scale is. If the player is already well established, well entrenched, it already has ongoing partnerships with the advertiser, I don't want to go directly integrate. I don't want to incur any cost. If a player is fledgling new and they are also trying to kind of offer this product in the market, and I feel that I can partner with them and this can become a differentiated offering in the market, I will do a direct integration with them, so that then I become a differentiated player in the market and I'm able to get a lot more demand than I would normally.
Understood, understood. Thank you so much. This is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anurag, some folks are leaving, so in the interest of time, I think you have another PPT.
I do
Maybe
have another
send them.
PPT, but we are well over time, so I think I might want to
Okay,
conclude here itself. Because if
okay.
we go down the second case
Okay,
study, it
go
will
ahead.
take probably another 30-35 minutes, which will be, I think, way too long for everyone.
Anurag, I had one
Good
last
evening. Good
question.
evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, Anurag. Pratik this side. I have two very quick and simple, easy queries. So, can you share your viewpoints on data privacy issues? And secondly, the impact of ad blockers on the revenues for the publishers?
Right. Uh, so ad blockers are not really a serious problem, right? Ad blockers are used by very specialized users, right, who are very smart. 90% of the people don't know, at least not in the India market. I cannot speak of the US market. I will have to look it up. The second part of it is, even if someone were to sort of someone uh, someone were to kind of activate an ad blocker, it is fairly straightforward to detect that the ad blocker is on, and you can push the consumer to say that, you know what, if you want to watch my content, you have to turn off the ad blocker, right? And a lot of content websites and apps actually do that, right? So if you feel that, you know what, you have good content, and there is value for content, and you're offering it for free to the user through a hybrid AVOD model, advertising video on demand model, then you force the user. I mean, ultimately, you are not here to serve the user for free, right? You also want to make money. So the ad blockers, at least in the India market, are not a big problem. In the US market, I'll have to look it up, but I don't believe they affect more than like 8 to 10%, maybe lesser. I'm not really sure. I'll have to look it up. The second question around data privacy. See, data privacy is a funny thing, right? So Apple, for example, for the longest time is trying to be a vanguard for data privacy, right? But what they're actually trying to do is basically lock the ecosystem in a way where they get to make maximum money. So Apple has its own Apple Ads division, right? They have ventured big time into services business, right? And they're trying to build all these kinds of SaaS businesses and ads businesses, etc. In fact, I had an offer from Apple for that exact ads division. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to close down the ecosystem for everyone else and trying to make their own Apple Ads business really big, right? Which is why they are doing these things like, and while they're marketing it as user privacy in their recent ads, but what they're effectively doing is that I have the user data, I control the operating system, I have the user data, so I have the first right to win in this market, which is fair, right? They control, not only do they control the OS, they control the hardware as well. So why not? If you control the hardware and you control the operating system, well, obviously you have the right to win in this market. You have the right to kind of say that why should anyone else, why should Facebook make money off my user, right? I should be able to make that money, right? Uh, so user privacy is basically the entire talk around user privacy is just kind of a marketing gimmick to basically scale your in-house ads business and basically close it off to other third-party players. That's what it is primarily. You will still see as many ads as you were seeing earlier. The second part of user privacy is opt-in, basically, right? So somehow you basically sneak in an opt-in somehow, right? So for example, this entire GDPR thing, right, which is there are a lot of regulations. So GDPR is also like not necessarily an ad-centric sort of legal compliance element, but GDPR is again user privacy, right? Like don't collect more data than uh, user wants to kind of share with you. But what happens, right? Most of the GDPR compliance that is being done is like you go to a website, they say that okay, accept cookies, and you happily do it, right? No one is trying to kind of give you like the typical default option that everyone gives you is accept all cookies. So that's again lip service, right? So the compliance is there, the regulation is there, but it's hard to kind of enforce it in practice, right? Because everyone, what they do is they give you two options: accept all cookies or do not accept, right? And people are like, "Chalo kar hi lete, accept all cookies," like because there is a very persuasive text also which says that to offer you the best experience and give you the most personalized recommendations, we would recommend that you accept all cookies. And people, without any much further thought, they just do accept all cookies, right? So user privacy, at least for now, is not hindering the serious ads player from making money off them. There are a bunch of controls that the OS has now started offering to the users, and obviously there are like legal compliance elements coming kicking in from different bodies. But end of the day, still today, you can get away by designing your flows in a way where you kind of you kind of persuade the user with a very persuasive text that, you know what, just give me permissions so that I can offer you the best viewing experience or the best consumption experience or whatever, right? And you're kind of able to kind of circumvent those user privacy issues.
Oh, thank you.
Anurag, I have a question. So,
Yeah.
whenever we watch a cricket match on Hotstar, on the top right, we see number of users.
Mhm.
Versus whenever we watch a cricket match on Geo Cinema or Geo, we see number of views. Now, what is
Yeah.
the difference between the two?
So Hotstar actually does not show just viewers. Hotstar shows concurrent viewers, like number of people who are parallelly watching that cricket match at that point of time, right? So basically, live streaming is kind of a show perform. Live streaming is tough, right? And the way you establish that you are streaming, you are a serious player in this particular space is by showing that you are able to stream to so many devices at the same time. Hence, Hotstar chose concurrent viewers as the key metric, right, to showcase their brand, and that became like a metric for advertisers, saying that, you know what, Hotstar streamed to like 25 million concurrent viewers at the same time, right? So it was also an advertising metric, right? What Geo does is looks at cumulative views till now, right? So it's not really a concurrency thing. What it says is till now 100 million views of this content stream have happened. These the same user might have launched the app 3 times, right, and would have seen the content stream 3 times, so that will count as 3 views. And obviously these are not happening at the same time either. Some user started the content stream, then killed the app, then another user came, launched the content stream and killed the app. So all of those views are getting basically stacked up, and then they are saying that, okay, x number of views, cumulative views till now. The reason why these platforms, I think the more interesting discussion is why do platforms publish these numbers. So this is very similar to the TRP numbers that the traditional TV media has, right, where you are trying to establish that you have significant scale on your platform, and hence that number attracts the advertiser, saying that, oh, I should go spend money on IPL streaming on Hotstar because they get like 25 million concurrent viewers. So for Hotstar, it was a way to demonstrate the tech prowess, but also to establish like a marketing number for advertisers, so that then they would come and chase Hotstar that, hey, you know what, I have to be a part of IPL on Hotstar. And similarly, JioCinema is following the same tactic. In fact, most of the JioCinema team is ex Hotstar, so I you had to kind of expect that, like 90% of their team is ex Hotstar.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Anurag, one quick question on build versus buy on the ad tech technology stack itself. So when Hotstar went on this journey of becoming a player, they'd have to invest like a significant amount of money, I'd imagine, in building the tech stack, right? So are there established vendors out there that provide software technology that companies get started with, or like how does that build versus buy decision usually go? Like what are the economies of that?
It's a great question again. So see, so it takes fair bit of time and fair bit of expertise to build an ad tech stack in house. It takes a fair bit of time, and it also depends on the context, right? So if you're trying to do ads in a live streaming context, it is very, very hard, right? Because the content is being broadcasted live stream, and then at the same time you have to introduce an ad in that live stream. It's tough, right? So my take on this is slightly more simplistic, rather than going to the economics. Economics will come in, but my take on this is very, very simplistic. If you are a if you are a content player, right, and you want to focus on content production itself and don't want to worry yourself in like building an in-house tech stack and monetize, and you already have fair amount of content. So for example, Hotstar was part of Star, and Star is a media house and has expertise in sourcing content, distributing content, etc. You want to stick to your strengths, right? You So when Hotstar started, Hotstar did not have any in-house ad tech stack. They used to there are a lot of standard ad servers out there. There are a lot of standard ad exchanges. It's fairly trivial. If you go with the Google ecosystem, you just put the Google SDK into your platform and you start running ads, right? So when Hotstar started, Hotstar worked with a very specialized video ad server player. The player's name was called Uala back then. It is, or maybe it was called Wala back then, and earlier it was called Video Plaza. So they are specialized like video ad tech ad servers, right? And similarly, if you want to go with banner ads, you go with something else, right? So there are a lot of standard ad servers out there, standard ad exchanges out there, etc., which you can always partner with. If you want to build a DSP of your own, let's say you are Flipkart, you want to build a DSP, but you don't want to build it in house, you can go work with MediaMath, Trade Desk, and say, I want to just use your white label DSP and just use it in a white label manner, right? So stick to your strengths. If content production is your strength, don't bother building, and you already have a lot of page views, visits right away. Don't bother building an ad tech stack straight up. You first figure out what is the potential of monetization by working with a partner, right? And once you kind of figure out that, hey, you can make, let's say, $100 million a year, then you figure out whether the cost that you're passing on to your partner, and let's say your partner is taking a 20% cut of it, right? $20 million. So then you know that, hey, instead of paying $20 million, it is much more easier for me to kind of build that tech stack in-house, because if I build that tech stack in-house, my $20 million cost goes down to zero. I'm pretty sure that it will not take $20 million to build an in-house ad tech stack, right? So that is how. So if you know that you are paying, like, you first start with a buy decision. Typically you start with a buy decision, then you get to a point where saying that, hey, I'm paying $10 million a year, why pay it? And then you start building that in-house thing, because you know that in $10 million you can easily build a robust sort of ad tech stack, and you go piece by piece, right? So you don't take out your ad server straight up, right? You first focus on maybe you run video ads also, but banner ads also, like for example in Hotstar. So you take the banner ads ecosystem in-house, then you attack the video ads ecosystem, right? So maybe some part of it, let's say, like I talked about the metrics, right? That I'm measuring quartiles and I'm measuring whether the audio was on. So you supplant moat, and you say, I don't need you. The metrics bit I will build in house, and I'll publish it transparently to my advertisers, right? And you kind of supplant moat and you build. So piece by piece, you kind of supplant all the external tech providers, and you get to a point where everything is in house.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, man.
Yeah. One question, Anurag. So
Yes.
as sure.
Shall we call it a day? It's been
Yeah.
2 hours that we've been on, and I know Anurag would want to take a leave early on. It's already late. Can we hold on to the questions now and maybe reach out to Anurag separately and get started with that? If that's okay.
I'll send it across, not a problem.
Yeah, there's a question.
I'll send across the presentation.
Sounds good, sir. Anurag, sir, thank you so much for this amazing session. When I
Thank
was
you.
just listening in and sitting around, and tons of learning there. I'm sure the other folks are also having a great time. So we'll all be getting a feedback link, guys. Please take time to share your feedback. It keeps me motivated to organize more such kind of sessions. And of course, Anurag is a veteran here. He's a legend when it comes to ad tech. So he would have definitely be motivated to do more sessions with us. Anurag, thank you so much for your time, and maybe a follow-up session on other
Yeah,
pieces that we
yeah,
could
yeah.
not cover
We
today.
can definitely do that. I knew that the art tech session itself will consume 1.5 hours, and both pieces are very different from each other, so I kept them separate.
Correct, correct. Totally. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for being such a patient audience and staying all the way to the end. So, thank you. Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.